Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's session for Build a CV and Write a Cover Letter. My name is Daryl, and I come from a very, very diverse background. But of course, I am a digital skills trainer for the Google Digital Garage, Google Digital Garage. Bit of a tongue twister there. Do a couple of housekeeping tips before we go ahead and jump in. If you're having any problems hearing me or seeing me today, please go ahead to your browser and refresh this page. It normally irons out any potential problems. Now, before we jump into the content for today's session, a little bit about myself. I do come from a very, very, very diverse background within sales, recruitment, hospitality, learning and development, and of course, within tech. I like to think I know a lot about the transition between different careers, and hopefully my experience will be portrayed through today's session. But I'm not here alone. We're very, very fortunate to have Tessa here with us here today, also a Google Digital Garage trainer, and she will be moderating today's chat. If you are viewing us through a desktop or a laptop, she can be found just on the right-hand side, and she'll have a little blue spanner next to her name. If you're viewing us through a mobile device, there's a very good chance that the chat will be just below us. Now, talking about the chat, we would love you to get involved. I've already seen a couple of hellos coming to the chat, which I love dearly. So keep that coming in throughout the whole of today's session. In order for you to get involved with today's chat, you would be required to have a YouTube account. Relatively easy to get set up. Once you're all set up, you'll be able to fire over those questions to myself and Tessa, and we welcome all types of questions, queries, emojis, you name it. And just to let you know, you've all entered a completely non-judgmental environment. There's no such thing as a silly question. So if you're ever thinking, should I ask, shouldn't I ask? Ask us anyways, and we'll do our very best to answer any of those as we go along. Now, we will be pausing throughout the session for any particular questions, but I do encourage you to really get involved with the chat, get engaged with the particular exercises. Please make sure you all have a pen and pad ready to go. But I'm going to ask quite a few times for you to answer questions within the chat. So get involved, because these sessions essentially could not happen without all of you wonderful individuals that have decided to take time out of your day to spend it with myself and Tessa to learn a little bit more about Build a CV and a Cover Letter. Now, two more things I'd like to mention. If you'd like to learn more about this, because this is only a slither of what the Google Digital Garage has to offer, so please go ahead to click in the link in the description below. There are more live trainings very similar to this one. On top of that, many, many more online courses that's going to equip you with the skills of the future to really equip you to start hopefully finding that job that you're looking to dive into. Last but not least, if you like to have the closed captions for this particular live trainings, all you'll need to do is hover over this window. You'll find somewhere where it's a little bit of a little gear cog. You click onto that gear cog, click onto the CC, closed captions, and you'll be able to have these subtitles for today's webinar. Now, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in. I've already seen lots and lots of hellos come into the chat, but please continue that. Please, for everybody that's decided to join today's session, get involved with the chat, get your YouTube account set up so you can really get engaged and we can bounce off ideas. And remember, it's not all about what myself and Tessa has to say. Maybe there's something that you pop into the chat today that may resonate with somebody else. So continue that chat, talk amongst yourselves, push out those questions as much as possible, and share your thoughts as we go along. So what are we going to be jumping into the first part, or the next 60 minutes? Well, we've broken it down to 60 minutes. And over these 60 minutes, it's broken it down to these three different steps. Number one, we're going to look at how we can build your CV. Next up, we're going to look at how we can write your cover letter. Then last but not least, how do we then get ready for the job search? And just to hopefully give you a little bit more confidence of today's session, I was previously, in my previous life, a recruitment consultant, and I have looked at many, many, many different CVs in my lifetime. On top of that, Google has definitely seen their fair share of CVs as well. So we're going to share some best practices and enable you to start making things that are a little bit more clear and concise for those employers or anybody that's decided to take you on board within their team. So couple of lows. Let's go ahead and see. We've got Pravin. Hey to you. We got Shaz Entertainment. Hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We got DJ Alice. Hi from you. We got Alpha Men's. Love that name. We got Alex as well, calling in from the UK. Hopefully you're enjoying the weather just as much as I am. We've got Namya, excited to learn. I'm just excited to help you learn. We've got Team Captain. Oh, welcome back, Team Captain. Great to have you back with us. For those who did miss it, you may or want to find your career goals, which happened yesterday. We've got Shaz, this is your first Google webinar. Shaz Entertainment, this will not be your last. We've got Daisy, hello to you. We've got Tanushi, hello, hello, hello. Unexpecteds, hello. Wow, I love these interesting names. I love to understand a little bit more about the background of those. We've got Bashir also calling in, hello, hello, hello. So feel free to continue those hellos. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Let us know your favorite emoji. Let us know any type of information. You could even let us know, why did you decide to join today's session? What are you looking to get out of it? And hopefully we can tailor make this session a little bit more for you individuals. A few more from Thenai. Hello, everybody. We're going from Hui. I hope I pronounced that correct. Good morning. Good morning to everybody as well. So let's keep this rolling. So with that being said, this is what's going to be covered, but a great resource. I'm not sure if you know about it yet, but Google has released their free career certificates that are available. Now, we hope that you enjoy this webinar and take the most out of this. But within the context of what we're delivering, we're talking about upskilling yourself. We're talking about how can we build a CV and a cover letter to make yourself shine, and how else to help you shine would be to learn more and consistently upskill yourself. So whether you're looking to learn more about IT support, project management, data analytics, UX design, digital marketing, or e-commerce, you don't need any relevant experience. You don't even need a degree. You just need yourself, and you need to have commitment. I have fortunately completed the UX design course, and it was one of the best courses I've ever done. Probably slightly biased, but I truly believe I got the most out of the course that allowed me to now have actionable things to show people what I've accomplished, and obviously put all that learning into practice itself. So highly recommend you take down the link, which is goo.gle/careercertuk. But I want to start off today's session with a question. And this is a question out to everybody. Now, remember, there is no judgment here. There is no, oh my gosh, you shouldn't be doing that. This is completely open. So what I'd like you all to pop into the chat, hopefully you've got that chat up and running, is what are your career aspirations? What is it that you'd like to do? Remember, career may not only be for a particular avenue, but what are your career aspirations? Do you want to be a CEO? Do you want to be a manager? Do you want to simply be just a waiter? Or maybe you want to be a doctor, or maybe you want to be a lawyer, or maybe you want to be a UX designer. Now, the list goes on, but all I'm looking for you to do is start to get a few ideas in your mind, to give you a little bit of a focus of, okay, I'm going to be building up a CV and a cover letter, but if I now want to build up a CV and a cover letter, I need to project what my career aspirations are. What is it that I'd like to do? Because if you can define what your career aspiration is going to be, then we can then portray that. And hopefully employers will literally see that. It will pop off the page as, wow, this person really wants to be a lawyer, or this person really wants to be a project manager, or so on and so forth. So what are your career aspirations? Pop it into the chat. Myself and Tessa would love to know. If you don't want to pop it into the chat, that's okay. Please just make sure you take a note of it with that pen and pad that you have ready to go. As we start to have those popping in, I'm going to go ahead and jump into the first part. I've seen a couple come in already from David, IT web dev. Love that. That is one of my previous aspirations, becoming a web developer. Remember, to be an IT web developer, that is going to be something that can be self-taught. So I would highly recommend that you just go into Google, type in and learn more about web development, but see how you're doing. We've got Bashir, CEO, love that ambition. We've got Huey, I would like to be a law clerk, fantastic, quite specific. We've got Shaz Entertainment, a software dev, amazing. Unexpected, build games. Well, I hope you build a game that I'm going to play, because I love playing games myself. We got DJ Alice, data science, RA, a specialist in clarified in time. Beautiful. It's going to take some time to get there. So beautiful. Keep that coming in. We've got one from Fanishka. You want to be an intern. Okay. What kind of intern do you want to be? Is it an intern in a particular business? What type of sector? Let's define what that career aspiration is. Pop it into the chat. Another one from Path. I'd like to be in energy conservation sector as an engineer. Path. That is going to be very much in demand in the future, because energy is something that we all need, and something that seems to be is a little bit of a problem, a little bit of an issue around the world right now. So it could be a niche that you're jumping into. Vincenzo, I'm starting like an IT analyst on the 28th of July. Exciting. That's 2 days away. I'd like to become a UX designer instead. Okay. So Both of those are going to be transferable. IT analysts along with UX design, it's going to complement each other. So UX design is a beautiful career to go, an incredibly fulfilling and rewarding career. We've got team captain, website, and social media designer. Beautiful. Data analytics from Alpha Men's. Beautiful. Let's keep those coming in. Now, when it comes to building up your CV, another thing I'd like you to pop into the chat is, what is the primary purpose of a CV? What is the first thing that comes to your mind? What is the primary purpose of a CV? I like a question there already from Team Captain. Is there a must thing to have on your cover letter? Yes, there is, and I'll be getting to that very, very shortly. So stay tuned, Team Captain. I love talking about cover letters because that's really going to complement your CV as well. So beautiful. What is the purpose of a CV? Do we have anything coming in? I'm going to give you a few seconds, probably about 10 seconds left, to see if anyone can get the answer or some type of answer of what is the primary purpose of a CV. DJ A-list, to grab the recruiter's attention, that is a big one. That is a very, very big one. So yes, I completely agree with you. To get selected, yes, 100%. That ties into what DJ Aleph says. We've got Pravin, represent career goals and past experiences. Beautiful, love that. This is all tying into the answer, actually. We've got Namia, summarizing skills, experiences so that recruiters can understand you better. That is really well written. And hopefully we can take that kind of well-written sentence, well-written, I got a little tongue twister again. So their HR would know your background. Yes, Shaz, a CV is what explains about you in brief, 100%. I love the word brief as well. So let's just go down to the foundations of a CV. We always talk about, could I see your CV? Or do you have a CV? Let's just put that into context. So CV, the Cambridge English Dictionary states that the CV is a shortened written description of your education, qualifications, previous job, and also your previous personal interests that you send to an employer when you're trying to get a job. A CV should reflect your life's experience, not just the jobs that you've had. So a lot of you got those answers correct. Defines your accomplishments. Love that. Last one from Tanushi. And Maya introduces your skills and experiences. Team captain, introduce yourself and showcase your skills. So exactly that. But what I want everybody's mentality to have is that your CV isn't just the things that you've done for work and that you got paid to do. Your CV is the course of your life. You have done so many things within your life. And those who are saying, oh, I haven't done that much, I can guarantee you all have done something quite profound and you've already had some kind of accomplishment, which could be very small to very big. But we need to make sure that we highlight these accomplishments that are relevant to the job that you're applying to. Now, you're going to hear me say that word quite a few times. So my apologies if it annoys you, but I'm trying to bring across to you that when we're creating CVs, we need to be relevant to the job that we are applying to. So when it comes to your curriculum vitae or the course of your life or the resume, basically what it comes down to is the first contact with your employers. Whether your potential employer asks to see your survey, your CV, or your resume, they're looking for one thing, a document that proves that you are the ideal candidate for them to invest their time and their money in. So it needs to be a summary of your experience. And that was clearly shown by Namia and quite a few of you that popped into the chat. Remember, a summary. Next up is going to be goal-orientated. Now, if you know anything about me or anything about the Google Digital Garage, we talk extensively about goals. So if we can establish what those goals are, by the way, a few of you have already listed those within the chat because you've already got a few career aspirations which can be turned into goals. Goals are so important, not only for you to have a focus, but for those future employees to realize, okay, this is a goal-orientated individual. And who doesn't like, or who doesn't like a goal-oriented individual? Next up, authentic and honest. As mentioned, I was a recruitment consultant in my previous life, and I, for example, recruited an amazing candidate. I looked at their CV, I had one phone call with them. I said, you really, really stand out. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to present this straight to my client, and hopefully they're going to go ahead and hire him straight away. But what did happen is I was so excited. I didn't do any background checks. I just got, this is the perfect candidate. Here's that the client says, yes, I'd love to speak to him, but I'd like to see all the certificates about what he's said that he's achieved in the CV. I tried to message the candidate and he's just ghosted me. They didn't reply. I said, could you please send across the certificates that you have claimed to say that you've done in your CV? Eventually he replied and he says, well, I actually don't. I haven't got accomplished those. I may have done some of it, but I haven't finished some of them. So we need to make sure we're incredibly authentic, but most importantly, honest within these CVs. Now, when we're looking to bring your CV to life, of course, we can use factual information to really make your CV shine, but please do not use anything that is not correct within your CV. Next question is, what information should you include in a CV? We got last one, have a few of those pop into the chat, but we got a few more from previous ones from MacArthur. A fine country, the primary purpose of a CV is to give a summary of your experience and a skill set. Beautiful answers from everybody. And as you can see, everybody is correct, but we just need to put it into context now. But now, what information should you include within your CV? What's the first thing that comes to your mind? So when you're looking to present a CV, and let's say, for example, you're an employer. Imagine you're an employer and you got to see all these CVs. What type of information do you think is very, very important and incredibly valuable when it comes to the CV? Pop it into the chat. Myself and Tessa would love to know what information should you include within your CV. So Shazzy, entertainment, 100% experience, big yes. Don't even take away those 2 question marks because you are 100% right. Let's see if we can get 1 or 2 more answers before I jump into breaking it down of what we need to include within your CV. So 1 more, experience. We've got 1 from Pravin. Experience, skills, education, achievements, and hobbies. Ooh, I think we've got a little bit of an expert here. So yes, Pravin's touching base on some of the key elements of a CV itself. So thank you very much for that, Pravin. Let's keep that coming in. We got another one from David. Qualifications for the position, 100%. That's relevant. We've got team captain, work experience. We've got promo projects. Yes. Also, when it comes to projects, it really depends on what sector that you will be applying for. Some particular jobs don't require projects, but those particular I suppose job titles that require projects, we need to include those. We got 1 popping in there from Namia, volunteer work portfolio from Daisy as well. Welcome back, Daisy. I'm pretty sure I've seen that name before. And another one who's saying hello. So that's perfect. So yes, it comes down to this basic information. Now, there is no universally accepted template, but your CV should include all of these elements. We've got a few others that popped up in terms of portfolio and projects. They will be more specific to the sector that you're working within or you're looking to apply to work in. But as a general rule of thumb, you want to have your basic information, your opening summary, your work experience, your education, and your skills and strengths. To put this into context, imagine that you are a prospective employer. You have 1 vacancy, but you have 50 CVs in front of you. How long do you think it's going to take you to read all those 50? How are you going to be the one that stands out of all those 50 CVs? The first top tip that I recommend for everybody is that your CV should never be more than 2 pages. For 2 main reasons. Number 1 is we don't normally print paper, but for these particular CVs, sometimes senior individuals would like to have them laid out on a piece of paper on the desk in front of them. If we have multiple pages, that means we need to get staples or we need to combine them somehow. That's simply just not viable, not a viable option. Secondly, remember, this is a summary of your experience. If you wanted to write a book, you could always write a book about your experience, but a CV is really the first initial contact from your employer. So we need to make sure we bring them across the correct information as fast as possible. And one thing to highlight this, and hopefully people remember this, is the average human attention span is close to 8 seconds. Some even say 3 seconds. We are really bad at attention span. So much as, wait, sorry, what was I saying again? No, I'm just kidding. When it comes to attention spans, it's very similar when it comes to a CV. If somebody's going to be reading the CV, you need to keep them engrossed. You need to keep them, give that clear, concise information. How do we start off with that? With number 1, the basic information, simply your name. The name of yourself should be on both pages, and hopefully you don't have more pages than that. Second of all, is you need to have an address or a location. Now, this can really be your choice. If you're looking to apply for a job that's close in your area and you need to commute back and forth, then I'd recommend putting down an address. If it's a remote position that you can work from home, you don't necessarily have to have that address. Contact information, extremely important. The reasons I say that is sometimes I've come across some CVs that's really, really awesome, like almost perfect for the candidate, but I didn't have any contact details. If I can't find their contact details, do you really think I myself, the recruiter or the prospective employer, is going to go to Google, try find you, or go find your social media to try get in contact with you? That's not going to happen. So make sure it's clear as day, name and contact number, normally on every single page. Then any other information could be down to your date of birth, or if it's applicable to your role, if you need to work in a bar, for example, and have an age limit, or perhaps you need to have a car or required to drive, why don't you preempt the fact that you have a driving license and put your driving license on that particular information? So when it comes down to basic information, you remember, keep it basic. Once you've got that first initial information, they've opened up that CV. Okay, I know who it is. I know how to contact this person. Great. Let's continue reading the CV and seeing if they're going to be the right candidate for this position. Next up, we're going to dive into the opening summary. Now, this is where we're really going to captivate your prospective employer or your recruiter, because now they know who you are. They know how to contact you. Why should they read any further? And this really needs to be captivating. And if anybody has not heard of this before, is what I recommend is that all of you create an elevator pitch. This elevator pitch will not only be useful for your CV, but will be useful for anybody that wants to know more about you. Hey, Daisy, who are you? Tell me a little bit about yourself. Elevator pitch. Hey, Vincenzo, who are you? Elevator pitch. Next one, Pravin, who are you? Tell me a little bit about yourself. Elevator pitch. What I mean about an elevator pitch is, imagine you're walking into the business or the company that you've always wanted to work for. You don't have an interview yet, but you really just wanted to suss it out and see what the company is about. So you walk in, you jump into the elevator, and who do you think walks in? The big boss man or the big boss woman, whoever it's going to be, but they're standing in front of you. You've got about 30 seconds or less between that person leaving that elevator. How can you communicate with them about what you are? So how do you do that? Well, we need to do a summary of 2 to 3 sentences and describe who you are and what you can do for the employer. So say, for example, I was about to go to one of the biggest companies that I wanted to work for. Hi CEO, or hi big boss person. My name is Daryl and I am a digital skills trainer. And what I can bring to the table is I can now empower and motivate your crew with more digital skills that's going to bring your business to the next level. Now that just came off the top of my head. That's really not something I would use, but something like that. So hopefully you're all creating this elevator pitch, or if you don't have time right now, which you probably don't, write down elevator pitch. I need to create an elevator pitch. These 2 to 3 sentences will be the opening summary, but it'll also be that communication of when people introduce, maybe your first interview, or maybe you're looking to network, or maybe you're looking to go to a career fair to really make that impact. Remember, nobody likes fluffery, flowery language. I kind of do this and I kind of do this. I'm not quite sure what I do there. Be clear and concise. Present your motivation for applying for the role as well. Why are you applying for this role? Yes, you're probably the best person for it, but why are you the best person? So an example of an opening summary, how much time do we have? We still got good time. I'm a recent graduate of economics looking for an analyst role. I've experienced working in effective with teams and leading projects, delivering engaging presentations and networking with others. I've completed 2 internships that helped me develop my analytical skills, and I have volunteered as a treasurer at my local community center for the past 2 years, and I'm passionate about finance and helping people to look after their money. Now, if you missed that, you can always rewind and move through it, but you need to create an elevator pitch of your own. Next up, we have the work experience, as mentioned before, but this needs to be categorized and it needs to be beautifully laid out. So we have the most recent at the top. What is the most recent work that you did? Now, this work is going to be paid work, of course, because this is going to be under the category of work experience. So most recent job title at the top. So what did you do most recently? Were you a barista? Were you a lawyer? Were you a graphic designer? Who were you? Then for what company? And what was your job title and the dates? That's really, really important information. So what was the most recent job? What was the company? What was your title? And what was your dates that you worked with that company? It doesn't have to be specific from the 2nd of March at 2 o'clock I got hired. Just say March 2020 or whichever it is. So just give some brief layout of how many months you worked within that company. Key projects and results. What did you bring to the table? What is it that how did you have an impact on that? And for those who are thinking, I didn't really have an impact, everybody that's worked in some environment has had an impact. Let's say I worked in Tesco's, which is a shopping store, a shopping mall in the UK, or in the whole of UK. Maybe I was just a person who stacked shelves. What did I accomplish? Maybe I stacked the perfect amount of shelves that were needed to be done in that particular day. Or maybe I helped others to learn the system of how do we pack shelves in a shopping mall, for example. There's always something that you can bring to the table, but this moment in time, you need to bring your value. You worked at this place for a period of time. What value did you bring to that company? And then, of course, any volunteering, definitely recommend that. Then educations and achievements, very, 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 very important. But keeping in mind work experience and education. For those you're thinking, well, Daryl, I don't have any work experience. Well, then all we do is we pop education on the top. Or you say, Daryl, I've got lots of work experience, but not so much education. Put the work experience at the top. But we're going to categorize it in a very similar way. It's going to be the most recent at the top. Then what are the academic qualifications? What was the actual institution or university or college or online course? Who was it? Of course, and any professional qualifications. And what were your key projects? While you were studying, did you do a thesis? Did you do a project? Did you do a real-time project that allows people to have benefit from it, for example? So make sure you highlight that. Then your skills and your strengths. What qualities would people have you as describing? Now, for those who struggled with skills and strengths and were fortunate to join the Find Your Career Goals session yesterday, hopefully you narrow down what those skill sets are. For those who missed it, I know it's not on the website at the moment, but keep your eye out on the Google Digital Garage website, which is the click and the link in the description below, and wait for the next live training called Find Your Career Goals. It's a great session that allows you to start thinking about the foundations about what you are skillful in, what are your strengths, and then how do you articulate that and put that on your CV. Next up, with that being said, we've got coming down to the first few questions very, very shortly. So if you have any questions, feel free to pop it into the chat. I've already seen some questions coming in, which I'm going to get to very, very shortly. But next up, we want to showcase your skills. When applying for jobs, it's important to think about the skills your employers are looking for and match the skills and your ability accordingly. So remember, I used that word relevant. So it's going to be different for everyone. So when it comes down to showcasing your skills, it could be soft skills. Now, soft skills can be anything from leadership, teamwork, or communication, essentially anything that you've learned throughout life. So maybe you volunteered, or maybe you worked within a family or a team and you helped a company, or you did anything, you're going to build up some sort of soft skills of how you communicated with that team, or how you communicated with your manager, or how did you work in a position where you were the leader and you were organizing people, for example. So think about those soft skills. Think what you've done in your lifetime. Myself and Tessa would love to tell you, but we don't know. So think about what you've done in your life. And it could be small, could be big, but all of these things that you've done in your life can be transferable. Next up is going to be the hard skills. This is going to be more technical. Maybe you are bilingual or multilingual, where you can speak multiple languages. If you do speak multiple languages, always pop that into your CV. It is one of the biggest things that I envy of most people. I can't speak more than one language. I wish I could. Then it could be accounting, or it could be down to the digital skills. This is why a lot of us are here hanging around the Google Digital Garage, and hopefully you'll continue to do so. But have you learned a little bit of coding, a little bit of HTML, a little bit of CSS, a little bit of JavaScript? For those who are like, what did Daryl just say? Basically, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript are part of web development. A few of us that are watching may know what I'm talking about. Maybe you created a video. Maybe you edited a video. It could be a TikTok video, or it could be a whole full-blown video edits that you're capable of doing, where you may be doing it as a hobby, but actually that is a real skill and very much in demand today. Then social media. A lot of us are using social media. Well, to be honest, we are all currently on social media at the moment because you're watching this live on YouTube. So you have some experience with social media. So how do we now create a transferable skill and showcase your skills? With that being said, think of a couple of examples. Now, when it comes to keywords, especially on the internet, it's very, very important that you use the right relevant keywords that are associated to you. So you can pick out a few. We've got the blue ones, which are more of the hard skills, and the gray ones are more of the soft skills. So I've accumulated over time by working in hospitality, working in a team environment in an office. I learned more about teamwork. Project management is something that I've worked on quite extensively. Communication, it's exactly what I'm doing right now. We've got presentation, leadership, networking. Think of all these things and start to write these down. Because when it comes down to relevant keywords based on your position and targeting, remember, a lot of recruiters will, and I do this personally, is when we're looking to look at a whole bunch of CVs and how do we filter that, we will type in a few keywords. So if I'm looking for a web developer, for example, I want to use the keywords like HTML, CSS, or JavaScript, or Node, or React, or Vue, and I'm start talking about programming languages. And if I can use those keywords and they are in your CV, there's a very high chance that your CV is going to be presented to that recruiter or their employer. Next up is defining your strengths. What are you good at? What do you like doing? And what makes you stand out? And this normally goes back down to those three main pillars when we talk a little bit more about the Venn diagram is, what are you good at? What is something that you do on a daily basis or a weekly basis that you're just really good at? And this could be anything. Next one, what do you like doing? Because sometimes you can be really good at something, but you may not be like doing it, and vice versa. So defining that is really, really important. But when it comes down to defining that, again, there's a couple of examples. We've got, maybe you like to be enthusiastic. Maybe you like to be solution focused. Maybe you enjoy being very self-motivated and passionate, for example. But these types of words are going to bring you to life. Instead of saying, well, I am a good programmer, or I am reasonably good at communication. We want to use powerful words like passionate, hardworking, analytical, and dynamic. But these words need to be relevant to you and, of course, relevant to the job. This is normally highlighted within the job descriptions. They say we're looking for a hardworking individual that likes to help people. If that's what they're looking for, we want to make sure that's within your CV. And of course, if that's something that's your values that you have. Next up is showcase your experience. Now, when it comes down to your experience, let's take a few moments to discuss this a little bit more in detail. So when it comes to your experience, everybody, when I say everybody currently watching this live training has experience. And somebody could be thinking, well, Daryl, I haven't gone to school, or I haven't got any work experience. You've got some experience. You have something called a life experience. Remember, when we're talking about a CV, we're talking about the course of your life. So what constitutes an experience? Well, internships, work experience, even part-time jobs, and volunteering is a huge part, which a lot of people tend to forget about, which is a great way to get into an industry that you've never been in before by volunteering and helping and seeing, first of all, do you like working in this environment or volunteering within the sector? And secondly, you're motivated to learn more about this for free. Next up, certificates and achievements. Talking about certificates or achievements, make sure you click on the link in the description below and jump into the fundamentals of digital marketing. You will then get equipped with a certificate, but equipped with a great knowledge about the fundamentals of digital marketing. Hobbies and extracurricular activities. Someone mentioned this at the very beginning as what should be included, and 100% hobbies and extracurricular activities. But what I would recommend is be true to yourself, but also make it relevant to the job that you're applying for. The reason I say that is, for example, imagine I'm going to become a recruitment consultant again, and I'm going to be working in an office, but this office, everybody, through my research and what I've heard about the business, is they're very, very interested in football and rugby. So if that's something that I'm interested in too, I want to make sure I highlight that on my CV, because I'm going to be able to fit in the team a little bit more effectively. What I'm doing is I'm preempting what the managers or the CEO is going to be thinking. Okay, this person loves to do this. I know a lot of my team likes to do this too, so we can tie those in together. Next up, reflect on your experience to date. What did you do? What did you achieve? And how does this relate to this role? On this particular point, I'd like to make a very important point about when you're creating a CV and a cover letter for jobs, please, 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 please don't create one CV, create one cover letter, hope for the best, and then send it to 5 million jobs. Please don't do that, because essentially you're ignoring all those job postings that people are creating. What you want to do is you want to make every single CV and every cover letter relevant and particular for every role that you apply for. With that being said, While you're doing that, to create that relevance, you want to think about, what did you do in your previous role that's going to be beneficial for the role that you're applying for? What did you achieve in your previous roles that's going to be beneficial to this company that you're applying for? What is this role and how do you relate to this role? It's very important. Now let's look at a little bit of the structure. Formatting of the CV is visualize your layout. Remember, there is no universally accepted layout. However, I've seen a lot of CVs and Google has seen a large amount of CVs in their time. So when we're looking at a lot of CVs, contact information is very, very important. I highly recommend that's on the top of the page every single time without fail. The next up, opening summary, just to allow people to get a little bit more insight, to allow to captivate them, to allow them to start reading more throughout your CV. Then, depending on your experience with your education, if your education's more extensive, you've got more education than experience, make sure the education is on the top. And vice versa, make sure the work experience is on the top if you have more work experience. Then you can even add a couple of key skills. The key skills, remember, there's keywords that we spoke about, and then any references of any past employers that will give you a reference. Remember, with references, please make sure that you contact these references to let them know that you are applying for a role and you're using them as a reference. What that will allow them to do is be prepared for when they do call, oh, I know Daryl. Yes, he's a fantastic gentleman, so on and so forth, and they'll know exactly what to talk about. So definitely recommend you tell your references that you will be passing on a CV. Next up is the CV itself. Between the two, 1 and 2, which one do you think is the best CV and why? Pop it into the chat. Myself and Tessa would love to know which CV is the best and why. We have Fatima Allen and we have, hey, I'm Harry. Now, there's a few things that I like and there's a few things that I really don't like about these CVs. So Tanushi, we got 2 is the good one or bad one. So we got a mixture. So I'm hoping 1. So which is the good one? Which is the best one? We got lots of 1s coming in, which is great, Okay, so yes, 1. Why? Because it's beautifully laid out. We've got the contact, we've got the name on the top, we've got the contact details straight after, and then we have the summary. Now, when on the right-hand side, it's a little bit iffy. First of all, there's a photo. Now, in most countries and most job postings, you don't need a photo. If you choose to put a photo, that's your choice to put on a photo. If you're looking to become a model, maybe you'd like to have a photo. If you're looking to become an accountant, you don't necessarily need to have a photo. So choose what you need to. But we've got, hey, I'm Harry. Quite an informal introduction. And then we have some kind of border that's very, very distracting. Remember, when we have 50 CVs in front of us, are we going to be able to read all the information? So what's really good about number 1? Something called a white space. You're more than welcome to jump into Google and type in what white space is, but essentially it's the spaces between all of the sections and all of the sentences and the paragraphs. They've allowed you to have that space and go, well, here's the name, here's the contact details, here's their experience, and this is all this information beautifully laid out. On the right-hand side, we have a picture, we have lots going on. I don't know what the borders are doing. It's confusing. It gives me a little bit of I don't want to see this right now. Let me go ahead and move on to the next CV. So very, very important. Maximize your impact by writing clear and concise manner. Be transparent with the gaps in your CV. If you have gaps, tell them why. You took a break, or you looked after a family member, or you got ill, or there was the pandemic, for example. Get the 3rd opinion and a 2nd opinion and a 4th opinion. But once you create this CV, send it to your friends and your family and say, hey, what do you think about this CV? Does it read well? And once you've got a few people to read that, they can give you any potential advice on how to improve that. So questions, and maybe make sure we've got some time for some questions because there's lots coming in and I can see the chat is absolutely buzzing. So a big, big thank you to everybody. If you're enjoying today's session, myself, Tessa, and the team would love to know your feedback. I'll be talking more about this at the end of the session, but please go to goo.gle/digital garage feedback. A question from David. You said the CV needs to be 2 pages. That's for the printing, right? But how about the soft copy and eCV? Can you insert your certificates? Okay, great question, David. 2 pages is relevant if it's going to be printed or if it's going to be a digital version, purely from it's a summary. Printing version, we want to save paper, first of all. But if we do print paper, they don't want to have multiple papers where they need to staple them together. From a digital point of view, we always want to have 2 and not more. Certificates can be an additional files. So when we're looking to apply for a role, we don't want to give them everything. We don't want to go, here's my CV, here's my cover letter, here's all my certificates, here's my birth certificate, here's my passport, here's all of this information. We just want to go, hey, this is who I am. Here's my CV and here's my cover letter. If you'd like to know more, if you get interested, I can bring my certificates along with me to my interview. Great question. Pomley, what do we say for freelance work? Well, freelance work, I'm not sure. We could create a CV. Well, what I would recommend if you're doing freelance work is you can create an online CV on something called linkedin.com, which will have an online version for people to jump onto. But when it comes from a freelancing perspective, you don't necessarily have to tailor your CV for particular jobs. What you want to do is you want to tailor your experience towards the area that you'd like to work in, whether it's going to be graphic design or UX design or project management. Highlight things within your experience that gives you the experience that you require to jump onto projects that you may jump into in the future. Sahili Bazu Roy, hopefully I pronounced that correctly. I'm refresher. I really don't have any work experience, perfectly okay, but I've taken courses and certifications that have gained skills. Kudos to you, a huge kudos to you. In that case, will I work experience category? If so, what will I write? Essentially, work experience, if you don't have any work experience or whatsoever, you don't have to have work experience. However, what you could do is add an additional section about what area of work would you like to go into, why, and your experience that you have that you can bring to the table. So highlight the education as much as possible, but have some sort of a section to tell them what type of experience you're looking to dive into and why. Pommel, should we expect a level of knowledge from programming languages or editing software? We'd be specific of the level of knowledge on programming languages or editing software. Pommel, that's a great question. It depends on the job that you're applying for. So if I'm applying for a job and I see in the job description that for programming languages, they require JavaScript, Vue.js, React. By the way, I'm just talking about programming languages for everybody that's thinking, what is he talking about? If they're requesting those particular programming languages, then definitely mention it and tell them what type of experience you have with that particular language. And to go above and beyond, you may even have a link to a project that shows your experience in that particular language. But the best part would probably be to share a link. It could be in your portfolio or in your CV, but a simple digital link that people can see that experience. Great questions. Okay, we're going to move on. I'm talking quite a bit, so we're going to move on to the cover letter, which is probably one of the most important parts, specifically in today, on how we can get people's attention from a prospective employer or a recruiter. So when it comes to showcasing your experience, writing a cover letter is going to be something that's accompanied with your CV letter. For those who don't know what a cover letter is, you have a CV, which is 1 or 2 pages, but the cover letter is going to be a letter that's 1 page that's going to almost add additional information and guide the employer, prospective employer, to understand more about who you are and what you have to bring to the table. So showcase your experience. 40% of recruiters say that they look for a cover letter on applications. I was one of them. 45% of recruiters say that the lack of cover letter will result in a rejected CV. Specifically, if they ask for a CV and a cover letter and all you do is send a CV, don't expect a reply, because that tells them, well, they clearly don't read what the job description is, or they read it and they don't care and they just sent their CV without the cover letter. Majority of the time, people would want a cover letter. So how do we break that down? The building blocks for creating a cover letter, it's similar to a CV, but we need to structure this out accordingly. That's going to allow people to get the information in a clear and concise way. Hello, hi, dear. Top tip. If you're looking to introduce yourself to the company, I would do my very best to find out what is the name of the recruiter or who is the name of the person in the company that's looking at these particular CVs. Because if I go say, hi, Tessa, is a lot better than hi there or hello to whom it may concern. It's a lot more direct, and it sounds like I've done a little bit of my own research by finding out who is this person that's recruiting for this particular position. Great tip. Next one, introduction, summary of yourself, which is going to be similar to elevator pitch, problem versus solution, and then relevant achievements, and then sign off. To start off with hello, hi, or dear. Hi is a little bit more informal. Hello is very friendly, but maybe a little bit too old-fashioned. Then you've got dear, which is very old-fashioned and quite classic. The best advice that I can give to you is if you're looking to apply for a job, do some research behind them. Go look at that company, look at their social media, look at their website, look at how they communicate. Do they say, what's up? Or do they say, how's it? Or they say, dear? Or how do they communicate within their platforms? Because then I would replicate that and use that same type of language within the cover letter. Then, who are you? What are you interested into? Very similar to your elevator pitch. And then why are you applying for this job? What is the purpose? So within your introduction, hi, my name is Daryl. The reason I'm applying for this job and so forth. I'll talk more about the examples shortly. Then we need to jump into summarizing yourself. What's important to you? What are you good at? And what do you enjoy? Now, remember, this ties in very much into your skills and your strengths, which can then be translated. Those 2 pages that you created in your CV, it's going to be difficult, not too difficult, but you're going to make sure that it all fits within those 2 pages. This cover letter will give you a little bit more real estate to start adding more context to who you are and how you can add a little bit more value about what you enjoy doing, what you're good at, and what's most important to you. This is really, really important for the employer or recruiters to understand, because they're going to now try join that culture or that understanding of that company with what's important to you and what's important to the company. Are they going to be a great fit? Next up, we're going to jump into the problem versus solution. You may be thinking, well, Daryl, what's the problem? Well, we need to try find out what problems the company has. The first problem that they have is they don't have a position for the job listing that they posted for. So that you are hopefully going to be the solution to that. But try find out, is there anything that they're facing within their company? Maybe something that's really, really difficult to find, but something that you could add value to. So within the job description, look within the job description of what they're looking for. Think about the language that they used. As mentioned, do some company research about what's happening in the industry. Are they struggling? Are they thriving? Or is it the reason you've seen that they're growing so much and they need this position because they're growing at a very exponential rate? So when you jump into the interview, you go, hi, well, I see that you're growing exponentially, and I can see I'm very excited. I'd like to be a part of this team. And the reason I'd like to be a part of this team and this amazing growth is because I can bring true value. And my value is so on and so forth. And you're going to give that solution of work and personal skills for the job. Next up is going to be block 5. Now, this is completely optional, but what are your relevant achievements? Remember the word relevant. How relevant is the information that you've done or experience that you've had you can bring to the table? So any certificates, any volunteering, any achievements, any languages, any skills, whether they be hard skills or soft skills. Remember, hard skills are something that you're going to learn, like accounting or a new language, where soft skills are more focused around teamwork or communication or things that you've learned over time. Then relevant hobbies and interests, and then links to your website. If you'd like to go above and beyond, once you've created a beautiful CV, maybe you want to have links to that website. Maybe it's going to be your portfolio about your web or graphic design or your previous experience of what you've done before. Then this is one of the best sign-offs I have ever seen. And I've actually used this previously. So I am really honored to be considered for this position. That statement alone, that word, that sentence is really, really powerful, because what you've done is you've made the assumption that they are considering you for this position, and they must be, because they've either read your CV or they've already got to the bottom of your cover letter. So it's almost like this assertive confidence of, I'm really honored that you've taken the time and considered me as an applicant for this role. I look forward to hearing from you, and please let me know if you have any more information about me. So essentially what you've done is said, well, really appreciate you considering me for this position, but if you need any other information, I'm completely transparent. Contact me and I'll give you whatever you need. That's a great way to sign off, because then they can think, wow, this is kind of what we need. So maybe we can give them a call. So feel free to take a screenshot, take a picture, take a mental note, write it down. But I think it's a great sign off to finish off on. Then you want to tailor up your experience to your portfolio, your skills and your qualifications. If you're applying for a self-employed work as a freelancer or a creative industry and courses, you are likely to need to have a portfolio. If not, need to have a portfolio in my eyes. When you're looking to go freelance, which many of us are, and I always recommend, if you're creative, if you want to go out and do it, taking yourself out of your comfort zone. But in order to do that, in order to progress, we are now looking to build up a portfolio which is going to create value. Now, there is no specific portfolio for everyone. If you're a graphic designer, your portfolio is going to be quite unique. If you're a project manager, your portfolio is going to be quite unique. If you're a UX designer and so on and so forth, you're going to have relevant projects for your portfolio. Best advice that I can give you is go find out other people's portfolio. If you want to become a UX designer, go look at UX designers' portfolios and start, not copy or paste. We're not looking to do that, but we're looking to take what they've done really well and really just start off with something that you can build off on that's working really well already. Then the skills, when it comes down to applying for and using your skills, is how do you highlight those skills? Make sure you use the right keywords, especially on the internet. If you have skills, make sure you find out what those skills are, write down the keywords, and then include them into your CV. And that can be a part of those skill sets. Next up, or last but not least, you have qualifications. What qualifications have you got? What have you achieved? Then next up is start strong. So this is going to be a layout of an example of a cover letter. So feel free to take down a few notes, but start off strong. Hello, hi, dear. Remember, try after your company research, use the language that the company is using, the one that you're applying for. Next one, the introduction. This is a really great introduction. I am an assistant currently employed by Smarks. I'd like to apply, telling you what I'm applying for, regardless if they've got 10 vacancies or 1 vacancies. You want to be assertive, clear, and concise. I'd like to apply for a sales advisor role at Shirts and Skirts. I heard about the role through seeking the position advised on jobmarket.com. Next up, summarize yourself. I would describe myself as friendly, helpful, and patient team member, and take pride in offering a great level of customer service. And I've been praised for my warm manner in which I deal with my customers. Lots of information, but essentially that's only 2 sentences. And we want to make sure it's clear and concise. Next up, problem versus solution. I think I'd be a great fit for this role because I pride myself in being able to cope well under stress. I have also worked part-time at Marquis while studying, and I'm used to dealing with a range of customers on a daily basis. So when you're writing down this cover letter, please have the expectation that when you first write it, it's not going to be the last time. I've created a cover letter and worked on it and worked on it and worked on it, run it through Grammarly, run it through spell check, read it, passed it on to friends and families to find out almost word for word exactly what I'd like to say for every single job that I apply for. I don't use the same cover letter for 10 different applications because it's not going to be relevant to that job. Maybe sometimes, but we still want to make sure that we review it before we send it. The relevant achievements, which is optional. In my spare time, I enjoy volunteering at a local youth club in our village where I can organize activities for the group. I also take part-time courses on counseling. I also love learning about human mind and improving my listening skills. So just a different aspect to who you are and the experience you bring to the table. Then sign off, as mentioned, probably one of the best sign-offs I've seen. With that being said, CV and cover letter have now been run through. Let me know, are there any questions or queries? I don't see anything in the chat yet. I think Tess is doing a wonderful job about answering those questions within the chat. But if there are any other questions, feel free, because we still have time. And if you are thinking, should I ask? Maybe I shouldn't ask. Ask anyways. There's no such thing as a silly question, and we want to hear from you. With that being said, let's jump into the last part, which is getting ready for your job search. Once you've created the CV and you've created your cover letter, something that you can have somewhat of a template. Don't get me wrong, you can have treat that first CV and cover letter, create a template, save it and say CV template, cover letter template. Now, every time you look at applying for a role, you take that template, you copy it, and you start creating it relevant to the job. So what I do is have my CV, the template CV that I've saved, then I have the job description, which is the job that I'm about to apply for. I have them next to each other, and then I start typing out my CV. Of course, I don't want to lie. Remember, we don't lie. But if they're asking for specific things that they're requesting within a job description, and you have that as a skill or as experience, we need to make sure we highlight it in your CV as well. Okay, last part, when it comes down to check your digital footprint, everybody, all of you currently watching right now have a digital footprint because you're currently watching something right now on YouTube. So think about when it comes to your digital footprint, digital footprint's everything that you've done online. Now, not everything's visible to everybody, but you are in control of a lot of that. Now, maybe some of you, maybe a little past your time, but there was something called MySpace, which was a social media platform way back in the day. But some of us may still have a MySpace account or a really old account that we had when we were in our teenage years or in our early ages or many, many years ago, regardless of your age, and you did things and you posted things. Remember, that's still there. That's still on the internet. If you haven't deleted it or if you haven't removed it from public to private, it's still there. So keep in mind, I was a recruitment consultant, and the best way for me to learn more about my candidates is that I looked at that social media. I looked at what is their online presence. And the best thing I'd recommend everybody do after today's session, jump into Google and type in your name. Find out what pops up, what social media platforms pop up, what old profiles were there. Are there any old pictures? Maybe some pictures you really don't want to be seen by future employers. So digital footprints is very, very important. Think about the pages you follow too. For example, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm active on LinkedIn as much as possible, but I follow quite a few people. I follow some of the top dogs in the high levels. For example, Tony Robbins or some of the really big motivational individuals. These are things that employers will look at. Who inspires you? What type of a person are you? Then the posts that you're tagged in. In the previous days, I've had some really good times with some old friends, and maybe we've had a few drinks, but maybe some people took a photo of me in a really ill state, and then that was posted on the internet. Because I was tagged in that photo, that's going to be a part of my digital footprint. So maybe you experienced a great festival in an old time, or you did something that you really enjoyed, but it doesn't really tie well into who you are currently. So this is something we need to clear up on a daily basis. So digital footprints, very expensive, very, very important, because 90% of recruiters will check your social media presence to learn more about you. I speak from experience. I did exactly that. I used to recruit super yacht crew for super yachts, and I didn't get to see them face to face. So I got to see their CV, but then I learned more about their social media. What did they post on their LinkedIn, on their Facebook, on their Instagram? I learned more about them. And that's something not only the recruiters will see, but the actual employers will want to see, what are you involved in? What do you do? Then a third of employer referrals and a company website's social media is the most important tool. And a third of employers use social media to find new recruits. So how do we create a compelling personal brand online? A little bit of help with that. Make sure you click on the link in the description below, and make sure you wait for the next live training called How to Build Your Own Personal Brand Online. It's a great live training, and you can start build that up as well. So how do we do this? Reevaluate your social media. If you have social media, go have a look at what's been posted, what's public, what's private, what needs to be deleted, what can stay there. Then create a LinkedIn profile if you haven't done so already, especially if you're looking to go into the job market. Regardless of what job you're looking to jump into, LinkedIn is a great place to put your CV and your experience. Why? Because it's available 24/7. So if an employer wants to learn more about you, they type your name into Google, for example, or LinkedIn, and they can go see your experience, or that's something that you've created. Then join and discuss the network, discussions and network, especially within the sector that you like to work in. For example, if you like to become a web developer, try find some networking forums or groups where people are talking about jobs or graphic designs or the trends, or whichever it is. Then share engaging content about what are you currently working on. So for those who aren't working at all, but you're looking for a job and you're actively building up your CV and your cover letter, please make sure that you're regularly posting on social media what you do. Like, for example, today, you could say, for example, today I attended an amazing session with Tessa and Daryl at the Google Digital Garage, and I learned more about how to build a CV and a cover letter. And I'm really looking to show my CV, and I'll stay tuned. I'll be posting my CV shortly, for example. Or anything that you're currently doing. You're working on a certificate. You finish the certificate, post about it. You're going to a networking event around this particular sector. Take a picture of yourself in front of the shop or in front of the networking event and say, hey, everybody, look what I'm doing. I'm in a networking event talking about web development. What you're doing is you're not communicating to the world to say, this is what I'm actively doing. I'd really like to get a job in this field. But while I'm trying to get a job, I'm volunteering, I'm going to networking events, I'm upskilling myself with courses. And while you do this, it'll almost be to a point where employers will be like, wow, who's this guy posting all the time? I need to message him and see if he wants to come work for us because he's really active on social media. Looks like what he's doing. So you're now going from a different avenue. Instead of putting out that CV and the cover letter and applying and applying and applying and applying and applying, but now you take the control in your own hands. While you're applying, you create your own portfolio, especially within LinkedIn, and you start posting about it. About what are you doing? What do you do today? What are you doing tomorrow? What are you going to do next year? What are your goals? What are your aspirations? And you'll be amazed on how many people will find that. Because what you can do on top of that is now connect with recruiters on LinkedIn or recruit or post within the groups that you're networking in. And at some point, you're going to get noticed. If you are active and you're creating remarkable things, someone's going to contact you eventually. So up your game with that. Next up is uncover the world of possibilities. Think big. Now, when I say think big, dare to dream. Be bold about your goals and plans. What do you want to do? For a lot of you said you wanted to be CEO. Someone to be a law clerk. Lots of people have aspirations. Keep that in mind. Don't let anybody else tell you otherwise. If that's what you want to do, dream about it. Make a vision board. Talk about it. Write about it. Make it come to fruition. Then identify any trends. What we've noticed within the Google, and I suppose what they've noticed is there's some very in-demand skills today. And those in-demand skills will be focused around those Google career certificates. What's trending today? People are desperate for UX designers. They need project managers. They need graphic designers. They need people with IT support. All of these skills are the skills of the future. So think about those trends, research the roles and the requirements for them, and then think about which tools you can use to look for jobs. Now, there's lots of tools to find jobs out there, but even before you're applying for jobs, you think, well, Daryl, I don't have a CV yet. What's going to help you is to find out what's jobs out there, what are people posting, and what do they require? What are the things that are the requirements in order for you to work in that role? Because then you can work on those and build up a skill set in that expertise. So search engines, probably one of the best ones. Now, if you're looking to do a bit of research about jobs, go into Google. Oh, you will be amazed to find something called Google Jobs. But what you want to do is find that. So I'm running close out of time. I've got to realize that. But job boards are really, really important. Professional networks on LinkedIn, and then discover jobs on search. Go to Google, type in the job that you'd like to work for. If you want to become a CEO, it's going to be a little bit difficult. Then keep an eye for key information, tasks and responsibilities, be specific on experience required for the role, and think about the salary and the location. But this key information needs to be relevant to you, not just to the employer. Choose the roles that match your values. What are your values? Which ones are important to you? And how can you find a job that fits within your values? Last but not least, we want to make sure that you have a smart approach to it. Something that's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. So with that being said, what are your career goals for this year or next year? Pop it into the chat. Pop into the chat. What is your key takeaway from today's session and what are your career aspirations? But I've already gone over time, so please make sure you give us your feedback towards the end. What are your next steps? Make sure that you jump into these certificates, which is goo.gle/career search UK, and hopefully we'll see you in many, many more sessions in the future. But without further ado, a big, big thank you to Tessa for moderating today's chat. A big thank you to all of you for getting involved. Make sure you hashtag about Digital Garage, and hopefully we'll see you in many, many more sessions in the future. But without further ado, I'd like to say, look after yourself, look after each other, and I would say bye for now.